Good evening and welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. Here we are on day 53, and I'm continuing the story of Nakagiri the Elephant. And where I'm sitting, above me is the moon, behind me is outside. I'm sitting in the doorway of my house on this 22nd day of February 2024, and outside it's so amazing because there's a number of spotted owls that are hooting at each other. Some are too far in the distance for you to hear, but there's one that's really close. But on. Hopefully you can hear that. We'll move on with the story of Nakagiri. Now, as you might remember, the elephant keeper, he'd agreed to do this task that Devadatta had asked him to do. He got 5 of his friends together, and that very evening, about midnight, they came down the street with 3 large earthen pots filled with palm wine. They came into the elephant stable and they poured all of this wine into the trough, the watering trough of Nakagiri. Now Nakagiri, smelling this incredible fragrance from the wine, came up to it. His chains that chained his back feet clattering behind him. He fanned his ears. He sniffed with his trunk. And then he began to drink. He'd never tasted anything as sweet as this. It was as sweet as flowers. The fragrance filled him with a delight he had never known before. But of course, it was not just the fragrance. The wine worked its effects. Soon Nakagiri had drunk the entire amount of wine that had been poured into his trough. Elephants are big animals, but he began to sway back and forth, lifting one leg, then the other, moving his trunk from one place to another and twirling it. He flapped his ears. His eyes grew half-lidded and had a flecking of gold. He gurgled a sweet old elephant song as he swayed back and forth. Well, the head elephant keeper, he watched Nakagiri, as did the other 5. Now, they had kept, of course, some of that wine for themselves. And they drank and drank through the night until they were swaying as much as Nakagiri. As the night wore on, all of them reached a state of intoxication. Now that comes with a constant sipping of beverages like that. Soon the head keeper saw that the light of the morning sun was illuminating all. And before long at all, He was standing, and his shadow was making a long shadow across the courtyard of the stables. He turned to his friends, some of whom were sprawled out upon the ground, and roused them. "It's time," he said. "It's time, get up. It's time." With spears, cymbals, drums, they came to the back of Nakagiri's stall and prodded him with spears and banged cymbals together and yelled, beat on the drum, until Nakagiri, began to throw himself around in a fury that he had never felt before. He tried to turn himself around and get at his attackers, but they fled, afraid that his chains would break. He dug his tusks into the earth. The men saw that he was held fast, and their fear turned into an animalistic rage. And they came back to taunt Nakagiri again. And we'll leave the story there and find out what happens next tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day or evening.